one day I'm sitting at my desk at work working away, and my dad sends me an email, and he goes, Blake, here's some options that I thought you might want to try. And he sent me 2 churches. One of them was North Point, which I'd already tried, and the other was Restoration Church. And the hardest part of it was walking up to the visitors counter and saying, hello, my name's Blake, how can I get connected? But sure enough, I did. And I go to that church that Sunday, and throughout the next week or so, I'm going to the things that they had planned, like the Wednesday night service, and I went to the well on the tail end of one of the services because I was sick. But that night I felt compelled to go. So even though I was late, that was enough time for me to get to know somebody. And sure enough, I go to the next well, and I start meeting people my age, and I'm finding community. And the biggest part of it was going to church that Sunday. And I went with my roommate, Zach. He was there. And he's been kind of looking for a church too. And he was the one who showed me a couple churches around the area, even before I moved in. And I sat there in the pews and I'd been taking notes, like writing sermon notes down, and I was looking through them somewhat, and I was taking notes of the current sermon that I was listening to, and suddenly everything started connecting. All the things I had written down, all the changes that I had made connected with what I had written down. Certain verses that I had in there started to make sense, and they did an altar call. And I sat in the pews for about 5 minutes, wrestling and having a boxing match in my head of if I should go down there. And then the youth pastor, I think his name's Dylan, said, if you are feeling lost, come down here, or something along those lines. And I was like, that's me. Because I felt so lost and distracted. I didn't have community. I felt like I was slipping back into all those old ways that I had. And so I went down there, and I just looked at one of the elders. I said, can you pray for me? And he goes, yeah. And he said, what do you want me to pray about? I said, I just feel lost and distracted. And he started speaking life into me. And the amount of relief I felt was just incredible. And I one thing that was said in the exact sermon that this happened in was, one thing that was said was he said this generation right now doesn't need another sermon. They need an encounter with the Holy Spirit. And I may have been saved when I was 7 years old, but I don't feel like I ever had that until that moment. And all the anxiety I had just washed away. And I felt the weightlessness I had inside me, felt like I could have just floated away. And it was the biggest sigh of relief I had. And the 3 men that prayed over me, I've now come to know a little more, and it's all making sense. And my life now, I just have peace.